much. In keeping with the holiday, which is upon us, whether we like it or not, it was upon us around 10th of October, I think, in the stores at least. We are going to give you some holiday music, or holiday transportation music, in our second half. And so I think this is appropriate that we start off with a great locomotive chase. Now, this is an interesting piece. It is based on a real story. Civil War buffs will bear me out on this. In the early years of the Civil War, in Georgia, there was a train line from Atlanta to Chattanooga, Tennessee, that was 138 miles long, and it would supply much needed material to the front lines for the Confederate Army. Without that line, the Confederate Army would have nothing, would have no food, no ammunition, and it would be a short war. Well, James Andrews, a Union spy, and 18 of his friends, Union soldiers all, dressed in civilian clothes, and boarded the supply train leaving Atlanta, Georgia, on April 12th, 1862. And the engine pulling this was the famous locomotive called the General. And the General was a wood-burning steam engine. And the train stopped for a lunch break about 50 miles up the track, or 30 miles up the track, I guess, because there was no dining car in those days. And so everyone got off the train to have lunch in the little restaurant there. And while they were there, these Union soldiers in civilian clothes secretly unhooked the engine and the wood bin and 2 boxcars and sped off up the track with the idea that they would damage as much track as they can and burn all the train bridges between there and Chattanooga, and that would put a big damper on the Confederate line. The real conductor of the train, the Confederate one, heard them going off and ran out there and chased after the locomotive for 2 miles on foot. So this actually happened. It was a real chase. He couldn't quite catch the locomotive, but so he ran back and secured a second locomotive with a wood bin on the back, and they took off after the first train. So there was 2 locomotives going full blast ahead. Every time the front locomotive would stop to try and unhinge some track and pull it out of the way so it would derail the second train, they would get very close and they couldn't quite get the job done. They couldn't quite get the bridge burning. They did set a bridge on fire with one of the boxcars that they left in the middle of the bridge, hoping it would burn the bridge. The other locomotive came barreling through and smashed it right off the edge of the bridge and went on. And the bottom line is they never did get the track demolished. About 25 miles from Chattanooga, they jumped off the train because they were out of wood. They had thrown everything they had down on the tracks. The other train had gone right over it. 7 of them were captured and executed because they didn't have their Union Army clothing on, so they weren't Union technically. But this is a piece written in 1992 that is based on that actual locomotive train race, really, is what it was. And some people have called this the boldest adventure of the entire war. It is a bold piece of music, too, and we'd like to bring it to you to start our first half, the Great Locomotive Chase. Sorry, there's one other thing I forgot to tell you about, and that is there's some steam sound coming from the band. The sound of steam. And it sounds like this. Okay, that's steam. When you hear that, that's steam. Now, I'm going to involve the audience in this, too. You can be members of the band from the comfort of your seats. You can actually do the steam as well. Could we practice that with the band? Ready? Good. That gives 3-dimensionality to the steam. I'll cue you. No steam unless I cue you. are